God's a love that's divine, yours and it's mine like the sun.
This is one of my favorite Bible stories. The story of the woman with hemorrhages touching the hem of the garment. When I was about 10, now if you got that similarity, you're very sharp. When I was about 10, my cousin Mike and I were sitting on the floor of his parents' living room, and we were playing games. And we're like, oh, we're kind of hungry. So Mike went and got a pretty large bag of Reese's Pieces. I think there were 54 or 55 pieces in this bag. And so we're sitting, and I think we're playing Parcheesi, and we're playing the game and playing along. And all of a sudden, I looked over at the bag of Reese's Pieces, and there was one left. And I thought, you know, I've only had about 3. And so I looked to my cousin and I said, Mike, there's one piece left. Would you like the last one? And he looks over at me and he's avocado green. And he says, I just couldn't eat one more. And he got up and he ran out of the room. And I don't know what happened to him. Or that's a whole nother story, maybe I should say. Rumi said, the wound is the place where the light enters you. The wound is the place where the light enters you. Isn't that interesting? Do you have any wounds? Do you have any places in you where the light can enter you this morning? Any thoughts of lack or limitation or feeling of not being unhealthy or not being strong or not being wise enough or loving enough or powerful enough? Are there any places in you that you would like to heal this morning? Where is the light desiring to show up in you? I believe that this journey that we're on as spiritual beings having a physical experience often shows up as challenges or health opportunities. And these opportunities are places where we can advance spiritually. So where in you does the light desire to enter you today? This story is from Mark chapter 5, verses 25 to 29. Now there was a woman who had suffered from hemorrhages for 12 years. She endured much under many physicians and had spent all that she had and was no better, but rather grew worse. She had heard about Jesus and came up behind him in the crowd and touched his garment. For she said, if I but touch his clothes, I will be made well. Immediately, her hemorrhage stopped, and she felt in her body that she was healed of her disease. Jesus said to her, daughter, your faith has made you well. This is a great story. Kind of a simple story, but a powerful story about what Jesus brought to this planet, what he opened our eyes to, what he was really, I think, a portal in many ways to show us what we can experience as spiritual beings having a human experience. How can we reach out and touch that hem of the garment? So in Unity, we like to look at things metaphysically or spiritually. So what we'll do is let's look through this scripture and look for the deeper meaning. You know, what does it have to say to us beyond the physical words? I believe there is a message that Jesus shared with us through this story that has a profound impact on the way that we can live our lives. So we'll look for the metaphysical meaning, the deeper meaning, the spiritual meaning. Now, there was a woman who had suffered from hemorrhages for 12 years. What are hemorrhages? It's bleeding. So this woman was suffering a loss of blood, a loss of energy, a loss of power, a loss of enthusiasm, a loss of life, really, for 12 years. And that's interesting, the word 12, as it's used in the Bible, represents as long as it takes. There were 12 disciples, and there were many times 12 is used in Scripture, and it represents the amount of time that it takes to get to that place where we can make a change. For this woman, it took her 12 years to get to the place where she could say, I'm done with it. Where she could say, I can't take it anymore. Where my cousin could say, I can't eat anymore. Yeah? When we finally get to that place, when we're willing to take action and do something about it. She had endured much under many physicians and had spent all that she had. And she was no better, but worse. This woman was looking for solutions out here. She was looking to improve her life and to regain her wholeness by using the outside world. It says that she tried many physicians. Now, I don't think doctors are bad, and sometimes I think doctors are, that Spirit works through doctors, and it's necessary to go to doctors. But what this example, I believe the author is showing us, and Jesus by his example is showing us that the true healing comes not by looking out here, but it comes by being present to what's going on in our spirit. What are the thoughts we're holding? What are the things that we're thinking? What are we feeling? In fact, when we focus on what's happening out in the world and try to change the world, how effective is that? Really, the way that we change the world, and many teachers have said it, is not by trying to change the world, but trying to change ourselves and changing the perspective or the way that we see the world. She'd heard about Jesus. She heard that he was around. She had heard that he was traveling and teaching, and she wanted to experience that, and to have him help her to heal. In the same way, we know the truth. We know that the best way to heal our lives is to heal our beliefs, to heal our thinking, to find positive ways to see our world and to change ourselves rather than just working to change the world. And she came up behind him in the crowd. You can imagine what this must have looked like. And a crowd represents all of the thoughts that we have. When you're in a place of needing healing or feeling lack or feeling not connected, do you ever have thoughts of lack or limitation or thoughts of doubt or fear? Thoughts that you're not good enough or you're not loving enough or you're not powerful enough? Anybody? Yeah. So those, I believe, that's the crowd. The crowd is all of those thoughts. And this woman is working her way through the crowd, heading towards Jesus and letting all of those crazy, limited thoughts move past her. And she moves into the crowd, past those thoughts, and up to where Jesus is. And she touched his garment. I love this image. And it's interesting that Jesus isn't even looking at her, doesn't have any awareness that she's there. But she reaches out and touches his garment. And I think what's so powerful about this is she is making the move. She is reaching out and saying, okay, I am going to do something about it. I'm going to live differently. And she's not like grabbing Jesus. She's just touching him. Just touching that truth that essentially is the truth that is within her. The same truth that we have access to. When we desire healing, instead of reaching out and trying to get somebody else or have somebody else heal us, but that we look within and think, what is it that I can do to change my life? What is a deeper spiritual principle that I can embody? Maybe we've been talking a lot about forgiveness. You know, if you want to heal your life and your relationships with people, work on your forgiveness. Work on forgiving yourself and forgiving them, and that relationship will change instantly. For she said, if I but touch his clothes, I will be made well. Truly showing faith that she had the desire to reach out and do something different and move towards that opportunity within herself to be healed. Immediately, her hemorrhage stopped, and she felt in her body that she was healed of her disease. And when we make a shift in consciousness and see with the eyes of love, we are healed instantly. You ever had an opportunity where you felt resentment towards somebody or unforgiveness towards somebody, and you get this kind of a drained kind of feeling? Anybody ever feel that? I know I have. There's been people that I haven't been able to forgive in my life until I had the realization that I can forgive them, that I can let go of that resentment. And the instant I did that, the energy, my true energy, returned. It happens, healing happens often in a second when we change our thinking, change what we think is our reality, and see the situation through the eyes of love and wholeness instead of out of fear and doubt. Does that make sense? For 3 of you. Oh. No, really, it was about 6. Jesus said to her, daughter, your faith has made you well. Your faith has made you well. I love that. It's like she had that potential within her. Your faith makes you well. Your love makes you well. Your following of truth principles makes you well. And it's right here. It's so close. Our healing opportunities are right before our eyes. If we just open our spiritual eyes and see with the vision of truth and light and love. Charles Fillmore, Unity's co-founder, wrote, the first step in all spiritual healing is to believe. And the next step is openness and receptivity to the stream of healing life. As you know, Charles Fillmore had a hip injury, and Myrtle Fillmore had tuberculosis. And he discovered this truth by watching his wife heal, Myrtle Fillmore, as she focused on loving her body, sending thoughts of love and power and wisdom and healing to the places in her body where she was hurting. So often I think when we get ill, we resent it on some level, and we get angry with our bodies. And Myrtle Fillmore was demonstrating that if we can truly love ourselves, we can experience a physical healing. And in the same way, around forgiveness, or around peace, or around judgment, or around not to judge ourselves, but to embrace the truth of who we are and to see ourselves through the eyes of love. Yeah? Charles Fillmore goes on to say, through the exercise of faith and our words, our spiritual quality is fused into unity with the power of Christ and the work is marvelously accomplished. Showing, when Myrtle Fillmore prayed, she prayed out loud. We know that words have a vibration, and she spoke these words of healing to her body. And this is why we use affirmations and statements of truth, because we know what we say and what we think creates who we are. And that's why we use affirmations and positive statements of truth, because we can actually affect our consciousness, what we believe, what we think, and what we experience. As I touch the divine love within, I am healed at depth. That divine love is in you. The spark of divinity is in you. The spark of God is within you. God didn't create no junk. God created us out of His image, which means we are in the same way created in perfection. We are the perfection of God, desiring to fully experience itself as us. And healing is bringing that truth back into our expression. Ram Dass said, healing does not mean going back to the way things were before, but rather allowing what is now to move us closer to God. Ram Dass is a great example of this. As you know, he had a stroke some years ago. And I've heard him say that stroke was a gift to me. I have learned to be closer to my source and to the presence and to the truth of who I am by having a stroke. It's actually improved my spiritual life. And I am now closer to the truth of who I am through this experience. And so we know that oftentimes healing doesn't always happen in the way that we would like. Yeah? It doesn't always manifest itself as youth and vibrancy, we are of the age that we are. Isn't that great? Yeah. I believe if we celebrate the age that we are and the experience that we have and the wisdom that we have and the love that we have, that greatly improves our ability to be present right now and to live to our highest potential. And isn't that what we all desire? Even though it would be great to go back to being 25 again, wouldn't it? Well, maybe not. Yeah. If we could go back to being 25 with the wisdom that we have now, maybe, huh? Oh, yeah. Watch out. Okay, so I'd like to take you into a little healing process. So I invite you to close your eyes and take a deep breath. Breathing in and relaxing. Letting go. Breathing. Blessing this presence of truth that is in the midst of us. Knowing that the presence of God is right here. We know that this place where we are right now is holy ground. Breathing in and breathing out. And in the same way that the woman in this Bible story from Mark had the opportunity for healing, so do you. As we relax and rest into this moment, I invite you just to listen to your inner beingness. And perhaps to ask, what is it that can be healed in me today? Perhaps it's a limited thought or a feeling or a thought of lack or limitation. Perhaps it's to forgive myself, to let go of my inner critic, to release someone else from my thoughts. Perhaps it is just to be able to relax, to let go of tension in my body or my spirit, my mind. As the woman in this story had heard about Jesus, you also know the truth. You also know that you are a powerful, loving, spiritual being. That you are filled with love and light and truth, wisdom, strength. You know that you are in this body, on this planet, to do good work, to be the light of the world. Imagine that you can reach out and into yourself, into your soul, and bring forth that which desires to be expressed as you. Just to touch the idea. And what would that be? What is the hem of this idea that wants to know itself as you? as you touch the divine love within, you are healed. Immediately, her hemorrhage stopped, and she felt in her body that she was healed of her disease. Breathing in and breathing out. In the same way, this healing power is moving in and through you right now. As you realize and know the truth, and you stop doing the things that don't work. Stop letting your energy out. And instead, behold the truth that you are. Take action. You are experiencing healing right now as you connect with the presence and the power of God, the presence and power of the Spirit that is at the essence of who you are. As you touch the hem of this truth, the truth embraces you. Feel the feeling of wholeness. Embrace the feeling what does it feel like to stand in this truth? To hold on to this wholeness? To let go of that which doesn't serve you? And stand strong with faith in the wholeness of who you are. And let's take just a moment or two in the silence, embracing the wholeness. Jesus said to her, "Daughter, your faith has made you well." In the same way, stand in your faith. As your faith has made you well. Breathing in and breathing out. Slowly allowing your awareness to return to this moment. As I touch the divine love within, I am healed at depth. And so it is.
Where I live, there are rain.